It is the Fantasy Rugby Yanks. My name is Jared Dyke. I wanted to say it's stupid and let's move on, but then you kept going.
I'm Ben Glauser. I don't like the way anybody handled that.
A collusion. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. It is the Fantasy Rugby Yanks. My name is Jared Dyke.
I'm Ben Glauser.
We're here. We're ready. Let's go. We got plenty to talk about. Not as much as the last couple of weeks, but plenty just the same. Let's crack them while we got them.
We're here. We're beer. Get used to it. Actually, I have a cider today.
There you go. Same. Find us on your favorite podcast app. Share, download, rate, review.
What you drinking there?
Same one it was last week.
Okay. I got the Storm Along Holiday.
I like the mass appeal from Storm Along.
Me too.
It's right in the middle. It's not super sweet, but it's not super dry. I think the ones that sell at the game are a little sweet, but you won't have to twist my arm for me to drink one. But
right,
just saying.
Exactly.
Just saying.
Yeah.
You won't have to. They are a little sweet.
By the way, Storm Along, you can send the checks to
local mass made.
Right. They sponsor the Free Jacks, so we
like them.
Much like Baxter, we support Storm Along as well.
Yes, we do.
And they also make a delicious cider. So if you don't have
it's not like it's
to
bad either. We're not drinking it just because it's good.
Right. So if you don't have access to Storm Along, that sucks for you.
Yes, agreed. So obviously we know that our good friend George is taking a break, but if his Buy Him a Coffee page is still live, so everybody go support that man. He's actually putting in and being an adult for once. So
right.
Give him some support.
Yeah.
Give him some support.
Take a step back but we still love him.
Yeah.
He'll be back. It's a temporary.
He's not disappearing.
We've as we can see with the sheet on our Patreon that we'll get to in a minute, but shit gets in the way. This is not it takes a lot of work.
So when you actually give a shit, it does take effort.
Right.
Yeah.
And the other thing is George is a one-man band.
Yes, he is.
So it's a lot harder when it's just you.
Right.
So as we can both Jared and I can attest, because we both do our own separate things at times, although we collaborate on the sheet, but
right.
Doing our own separate things is like, holy shit, this sucks. It's just me doing
it can be daunting sometimes.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's why I don't think for the sake of like this show, I would have kept going if you hadn't jumped in. Would have been at this point 5 seasons in, it would have been way too fucking hard. I would have lost my mind a long time ago. So
wonder what that would have looked like. Shit.
Yeah. I'm sure we can take a venture of a guess there.
But yeah, obviously, George, we wish you the best in your hiatus from the
fantasy rugby world.
Rugby, content creation world. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Still going to be an awesome.
Oh, he'll still be present,
but
just not putting out his usual stuff. But just the same, he deserves your coffee. So go buy him one.
Yes. As
always, there is no discrimination on this podcast, nor should there be in sports or in life. Speaking of sports,
an odd. So this is an interesting. I kind of like this. I saw this late. But it's something else that we need to tackle. So I'll let you. I'll let you introduce it.
So it's pretty bad. I'm gonna turn my volume on here a little bit, and I'm gonna play it.
See if it.
So this is from the Boston Bruins local broadcast. This is why people fucking hate Boston sometimes.
It's low. It's not coming through. All right.
Either way.
Yeah. Unfortunately, stupid technology.
Yeah, stupid technology. Anyway, I'll put the link to the tweet in the pod notes so people can find it. Either way, the broadcaster for Boston Bruins, Jack Edwards, was just shaming a player for coming in overweight, and it happens a lot in sports, but
Mm-hmm.
you poke fun at it once, and it's like, okay, you get a laugh out of it. The dude didn't let it go for a good minute.
Right. It was like a solid minute of while the game is going
Game's
on.
going on. Yeah, that's the other point. Like, he's doing this over watching and calling the game. Like,
Yeah.
the fuck is wrong with you?
But ultimately the player, so it was hold on, let me make sure I get
Pat
it right.
Maroon.
Pat Maroon. Not Pat Falloon, Pat Maroon.
Maroon.
Pat Falloon played years ago. Pat Maroon is a current player, and yeah, Tampa Bay Lightning. He is so he tweeted out about in support of those struggling with mental health, bullying, and body image. I'm making a $2,000 donation in the name of Jack Edwards to Tampa Thrives. So, and he's asking Lightning and NHL fans to join him with it, and that's good.
Yeah,
That's a great way to turn it into something positive, because there's so many people out there dealing with it, with body image issues and whatnot.
Yeah, sports is like the biggest place that it happens to, and
right,
especially, and it's not to say men don't experience it, but women, like females, like women's sports, is a huge thing that people just like judge them on based on I'm sure Hope Rogers has gotten her fair share. I'm sure at the same time somebody like Kat Merchant, who is a beast, has gotten her fair share.
So much. Yeah.
So, it's on either end of the spectrum. Kat Merchant would appear very fit, and Hope Rogers would not, although I would argue otherwise. Hope's pretty fucking fit. Fit doesn't have a look. And this is me coming from my universe too, and my background. So I have to deal with this especially with the high school kids as well. And it's because I deal with both boys and girls at the high school level. And, I've got a couple of them to stave off whatever bullshit images that might be thrown at them and whatever comments, but because I got one player that is just a monster, and she plays on the girls team. She would kick everyone's ass, because she's been living in the gym for the last year and a half to 2 years. And that's but it also makes her one of our better players, because she's able to, one, stay on the field, and two, people fall off her for tackles, and she doesn't miss. So it's like, it's this whole thing of, but and that's just how and she looks how she looks. It's not a clear defined thing that you have to look a certain way to be a good rugby player or to be a good athlete. You just need to be a good player and do what you can to take care of yourself. And what that looks like from person to person is completely different. So,
like we'll get to Nemanja Nadolo later, but he's not exactly what you don't look at him and you think wing, but dude can fly.
Say guy can run, and he's a monster.
Yeah.
And he just, that is probably his best position, maybe center now that he's getting a little older, but
right. But at the same time,
he is living there.
Yeah.
So fitness does not have a look. Being an athlete doesn't necessarily have a look. Yes, there's some common ideas, but in the grand scheme, like, just have your joke and move on. Don't fucking hammer someone's weight, especially weight being a huge thing that can be a huge trigger for a lot of people, and send them into really bad places if you're not careful. So it's only funny when it's
there's pictures of Andy Good with the meat pies on this. That's just because it's silly. It's not really. And also, he was 5 years retired, and they called him out.
God, he probably should have been retired at that point. I think he would admit that.
Right. And that's also him. I think he made that one or something. Yeah, if it's one thing when you're joking about it and it's in good fun. This was mean spirited. So don't be, let's be less mean to each other.
Yeah. Keep that to a Delroy, shall we?
Yeah. And I'm guilty of this, by the way. I'm bad about this, which is why I actually want
I can be as bad sometimes. I try and catch myself.
Yep. Me too. Especially because most of the time it's when I'm looking in a mirror, like, you fat fuck. Like, oh wait.
Be nice
don't body
to
shame him
there too.
Yeah.
Be nice to yourself out there. But speaking of being nice to ourselves, we got to cut ourselves some slack on the Patreon. But there are still some things out there. Rankings will come out tomorrow for me. There'll be I got boom bust up before the waivers hit, so I feel okay about that. Yeah, I wish maybe it's just not going to be something that I try and serve it, because it's the waiver wire is the waiver wire, and the time the score's finalized is fucking really, really close. So it's like,
Right.
I try and jam it in, but it doesn't always work. So it makes it kind of tough, and usually means I'm sitting here at 9-10 o'clock at night after a day of work,
Right.
trying to bang out one, the scores, and two, the article. So I'll continue to do my best, but hopefully everybody at least finds it entertaining to the minimum.
Yeah.
And we'll get sheets up this week. Sheets.
Yeah, the sheet is going to be up. I have we put up one, but it's mostly correct, but not entirely, because the we had the generic. We didn't have all the minutes done, which are close to being done, which helps us do the substitutions, which helps us do the player stats are right. It's the team stats which are still
a little buggy,
but they'll be done by certainly by Friday morning. I'm going to have some time to do it tomorrow, especially if it's still raining tomorrow.
Yeah, it's good.
And I can't work outside.
Yeah, but yeah, the minutes on this thing are a pain in the ass, and we have to go by the FRD stuff, because as we found out, like, Prem site doesn't always work, which would make life easier, but it doesn't always work. So kind of
right. Although I've been going by the Prem substitutions and timing. So
yeah,
it's going to be a bitch also, because then now I have to go. That takes even more time, because if there's a yellow card, you got to go back and say, okay, well, fuck, how much time did he miss?
How much time did he miss? Did he miss 10 on the nose, or did he miss 12?
So some of the minutes might not be exactly accurate, but at least the substitutions are right, which is really, that's my more important thing anyway.
Yeah, that's probably the main
goal. If somebody has is off by like 5 or 10 minutes, not the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, in the grand scheme of things, probably not so bad.
Right. All right, what do we got next?
We got
lost it.
Yes. Yeah. The aftermath that has slowly occurred from USA Rugby, and here's the thing, like, there's a certain rugby writer here in the United States that a lot of people are kind of raise an eyebrow to and really don't like, and when he starts to make sense, you're fucked.
Yeah.
and he made a lot of sense. I was like, I'm finding myself nodding at this piece way too much.
Right.
It's like, oh no, he's right.
And it was a review of all 4 national teams, the men's and women's 15s and 7s.
Yep.
And it was like, okay, here's where our coaches are. What do we think we should do? And really, that you're right. Every bit of it, I was like, yes. There was that one thing that I guess I glossed over. That it was like, maybe not that, but everything else was like, yes, spot on. But yeah, it's like really the only one who even got like a passing grade was Friday.
Right, because he has truly done well.
Right. And yeah, the only box he doesn't tick is the living in the US, and there's just ways around that and whatnot. And
I would prefer somebody live at least half the year in the US.
I would prefer that. However, if you can produce what Friday is producing, I'm not going to be too upset about it. It's like, okay, he gets kind of a pass because he does it well. And because there's ways to do it well, and not everybody can. And I'm glad that he can.
Right. Yeah. No, that's not wrong. That's not wrong at all. But
everybody else, there's no, it was a lot of, like the whip. And I'm sorry, I can't remember because I lost it because I was not prepared thinking about that for this.
What are you thinking about?
The women's head coach. I don't know. I was just like, I wasn't thinking about talking about this exact thing. Sorry. Not Kane. No, the women's sevens coach.
Did well.
Yeah. And about how it's like, it's not exactly, her fault, because she
inherited a mess,
hired late and like kind of thrown into it. And she inherited a complete mess. So it's like kind of the jury's still out there.
Right.
And that she should get a little bit of a,
maybe she could get a pass. The downside is, for sure, for at least for the women's sevens, is, as Goff pointed out, they came in fourth at the World Cup this past autumn, but they were clearly head and shoulders below the other three teams. Like, they were not even competitive with those three teams. Probably got lucky to be in the semis. And that is just, yeah. So, and yeah, like they said, you know what? The one point that I think we can all agree on, without a doubt, whether no matter who's coaching or whatnot, especially for the men, since we aren't going to necessarily compete, is play to entertain at the very minimum. Play the ultra conservative bullshit has got to go.
Yes, it does.
You know,
the
there's
physicality,
a reason,
though, we blah blah blah. No, stop that
such
shit.
a hard-o attitude. The teams that we love to gush about that are at a tier 2 level or semi close to it, like Fiji, like Japan, play some beautiful stuff. And when it comes off, that's when it looks great, obviously. And we know that more often than not, it's not going to. But when it does, it's like, ooh, this is so much fun to watch. You know, people gush over Fiji because they're fun to watch. People gush over Japan because they're fun to watch.
Right.
They're not the ultra conservative bullshit. And that is the thing that needs to go. And we don't like, we can't do the things we used to try to do, which was out muscle teams, because the world has caught up with athleticism. We can't rely on that anymore.
Right.
Very simple.
Yeah. There was a time when we were, you know, one of the maybe not the biggest and maybe not the most asshole-ish, but certainly the strongest and most strapped, ready to go, you know, like ready to rumble. And that helped us in some ways. But really the only time the Eagles have been good is when they can score. Yes. And these teams, very few of them can score. Right. Like either both the 15 sides struggle to put points on the board. The women's 7 side also equally struggled to score, but you know, like, and you know, and I was guilty of it too when Carlin Isles first jumped on the scene, but at the same time he was not physical at all. He literally, you know, he went and avoided tackle and all. You know, all totally that, avoided any kind of contact. And it's like, dude, no, there is a point where you have to actually, you know,
get in the mix,
right? And you know, get into contact and he just still avoided it, but like it was still the gumption was there to go for a run, you know, and Perry Baker's much better as an all-around player, but also has the wheels, and those guys just score at will. Like, you know, and Zach Test, you know, of old would set records for try scoring. Like, that was our thing, was we would just go out and we'll put up points, and it's a question of who's going to put up more points. And that's really what our rugby needs to be now. It's not a, you know, what we think of as a rugby contest. It's who can outscore each other. You know, I you know, win 50-45. Who gives a shit if you give up 45 points, but you win, right? That shouldn't matter. And you know what, if the score line is going to break 100 points, let's not have it all of 100 points be on the opposite side of the scoreboard. Let's have it a little bit balanced, right? So that's not going to happen if you only want to play defense. And it doesn't. I think some of the other things is, and this is something that I've been working about at the college level too, is that we're focusing so much on defense that it's like they don't know what exactly to defend, because they don't know what attacking rugby is. They don't know what is coming at them. They just know, okay, I'm here and I make a tackle, but we drill it and drill it and drill it. And it's like, well, you're still going to get scored on because they're going to do something that you're not really ready for. So teach them how to attack. And then, you know, that actually helps with learning how to defend. Then it's when you see, oh, this is what this looks like. This is how this works. This is what fucks this up. When I try to do this and somebody does this, it gets fucked up. And now I'm like, oh, okay, well then I'll do that to them next time. Like, right. But you have to know what's happening to do that. And so, you know, it's one of those backwards times where rugby is actually a sport where it's better to learn by learning how to attack, not how to play defense. Like football, you know, they teach you how to play defense and everything starts with defense. And it's, it works for football because it's a different sport. Rugby, we need to bring a rugby mentality to it. And that's, you know, like you said, all the best teams score points. They put up
the teams that people love to watch. And that being the thing, we need people to want to watch. And as it's been stated already, the teams that are going to play in 31 and 33 when the World Cup is here, those kids right now are in middle school and high school.
Yep.
Granted, you'll have some older leftover players, no doubt, because you need some veteran presence. But that is that school level, that is that age that they're at right now. And we need to get their eyes on rugby matches. We need to get their hands on rugby balls. And it really needs to just be a complete, just like dump of all our resources into all the youth stuff. Get things going where you're playing a set schedule of U23 and U20 stuff. Get things going where you're having academies develop left, right, and center, and you have a ton, and I mean a ton of development stuff going on for people to try out, and have a freaking tryout of sorts. Like, hey, you want to learn? Come learn to play a new sport. Here it is, right here. Come play.
Yeah, and we also need the national team programs to start having more of an open mind. Like, I feel like the women's program is a little bit easier with this. Like we saw that with Christy Kershey, who literally came out of nowhere.
Right.
She joined Boston Women out of off the street, right after I left, and then a year later was on the national team. And it wasn't because it was just because she was naturally that good.
She's an athlete, yeah.
Right. And it's it wasn't just that, and we've seen that before. Jess played with another player who also played on the national team, that she basically taught how to play center. It's just, it happens. But the men's team's a little bit harder on that. And there's very much a cutthroat, you have to do all these right things. And that's how you you cut out so many potential talented players just because you want to be exclusive, and we got to be inclusive and bring oh, you want to try it? Well, let's see what you got and give them a fair shake.
Right.
Because the guys that you got out there, what we saw, in the repechage tournament, are they really any good? Fucking any of them, really? I mean, some of them are, yes.
Some of them are, but
you can go line by line and be like, is this guy really any good? And most of them, you'd be like, I don't know.
You look across the board, and there are some players that they play for very good clubs, and and so you take them. But there are others I'm sorry, 90% of the MLR players I want nothing to do with.
Right.
And that's a sad thing to say, but it's how it is.
Right. So here's another thing. U.S. men's national team for football, at the World Cup, they're advancing to the round of 16. How many players on that team are MLS players?
The team that beat Iran yesterday, none of them started.
Right.
They're all playing overseas.
Right. But I realize that the MLS is good for that. It helps develop them to that point. But, if the MLS and that MLS is a much more developed league than MLR is
by far.
And so if we're relying on MLR players, we are fucked so hard.
Right.
So it's one of those things where it's okay, yes, it could come good, but it's going to take years. And it's going to take guys. What's going to happen is it's going to take these guys going overseas, getting some of them getting good enough, going overseas, and then coming back. So we're, it is that 10-year period of them getting decent enough to get a contract for the Prem or France or Japan or something, going over playing and then coming back. Yep. And that's such a long cycle. So it's gotta just go find players, because it's not going to come out of MLR for a while.
Right.
It's not a good enough competition.
No,
it's barely professional at this point.
No, it's still mostly semi-professional if you really think about it too.
Right. It's hard to call it completely professional.
Right. Just there's too many players that are on those between contracts to really call it, professional. So it's really that might be a harsh criticism of it, but it's also a fact. So
just don't fucking hire Eddie.
Please don't. Please don't. We'll get into him in a little bit. But yeah, please don't. No, thank you.
Because that's the opposite. And but England are having the same goddamn problems that we are as far as style of play.
Right. And the last line of the whole thing that people
Mm.
have discussed, and we can move on from here. We've seen in the past 2 weeks, whatever, where rugby unions have come out and apologized and acknowledged how poor their teams have performed on the field. And I won't name the ones that did it, but we've seen it. USA Rugby is not one of those. They have had crickets the whole time. They've been trying to pump up the sevens, but that's still not acceptable. Like, I understand you have sevens that you're trying to get people jammed for it, and that's great, but there still needs to be some sort of like acknowledgement statement. Like, yeah, we royally cocked this because we're not going to the World Cup. It's been 2 weeks and there's nothing. So it's pretty bad luck, honestly. Yeah. And like we said, we want people that care. This doesn't exude that by any means whatsoever. So I'm pretty annoyed about that. I mean, if headquarters was easier to get to, I'd go there and start kicking down doors, but because it's in the middle of nowhere in Colorado, it's not that easy. That'd be the other thing. Like, when we play home games, can we not play them all in Glendale, Colorado, which is a humongous pain in the ass to get to? Like,
Right.
Jesus, please. All right. Let's go to other things. Let's go to Autumn Internationals. We'll start at the Principality, where the roof got stuck open.
Yeah.
3-meter gap. I was like, oh no.
Hilarious. It's only funny because it didn't happen here this time.
Yeah, which we've seen it happen a few times here. I think the first time Safeco Field out in Seattle got stuck open after a rain came in. They're like, well, we actually might need a rain tarp just in case. It's like, yes, you will. So to the match. Not good. I mean, good and not good. It's hard to say one way or the other, really. And depending on who you are, I guess.
Yeah.
Nawakatinawasi is another Wallaby wing.
Yes.
Terrifying that they have another back three player. It's and he probably had been banging down that door for a little while, and finally came
through. And it helps. Right, it helps that there are some injuries that opened up a spot for him, but that happens, right? And sometimes that's how you have to bet. Like, just like I was saying before, people have, they play a little bit of favorites, and of course, Nawasi hasn't had the best run recently in Super Rugby, so it's been like he came on like gangbusters his first year plus. It's just been really quiet since. So I kind of get that point, but he's also extremely talented, and part of that is he's I don't think he's been used enough, and I know he's been banged up. So no, this is great. He certainly made the most of his opportunity with a couple tries.
Yeah, Wales started beautifully in so many ways. Morgan Falatau getting over and seemingly controlled the match. They were up at halftime. No, 20-13. Okay.
Yeah.
Fainga'a got the try to kind of get Australia away from it. I think it needs to be acknowledged, though, that Australia didn't quite start to completely click through gears until Lolosio came on. When did he come on? I make sure I'm not completely making this. Yeah, he came on
about
at
54.
Minutes. Yeah, 54 he came on. So they scored shortly after that. Or maybe that was the same time they scored. But then they scored conversion, penalty try conversion. And in that time, they did not give up much either. No, they didn't give up anything. So maybe his role is off the bench. I don't know. But kid freaking played great again.
Certainly did.
Just hard to ignore it. For Wales, this might be. I'm gonna get freaking lambasted, I think.
Go for it.
I'm over Justin Tipperick.
Yeah, I don't know that he's. I don't disagree.
He was the one that gave away the yellow card too, did he not?
Yeah, he gave away yellow. Yep.
for a trip. Like,
Yes. Yep. He
always
tripped
silly when
and
you give
yeah.
away a trip. You gotta kind of just hang your head in shame, and be like, oh, I can't believe I did that.
Hmm.
But not just that, it is. I there used to be a presence from Justin Tipperick on the field that you were just like, oh, it's Tips.
Yeah.
He doesn't have it anymore.
Well, he honestly, and I hate to say it this way, but he's 33, right?
Getting up
And
there.
he, yeah, and he's playing. Which one is he playing? He's playing
Played
seven.
7.
Eh, I don't know about that. It's another one of those, like Jack Morgan played a better seven, I thought, than he did,
Jack
than
Morgan
Tipperick
had a
did.
great game.
And it's like that's the thing. You need those live wires, and Tipperick
Right.
used to, and fully recognize that Tipperick used to be that. He used to be the guy who was fucking everywhere.
Totally.
It that goes away. It can't, I
Comes the point.
and
Yep.
both Jared and I can tell you, there comes a point where it's just not the same anymore.
Nope.
And when you're an international seven, the margins are such that you know you lose just a half a step, and
Yep.
you're a different player. And some players can keep going, like you see Michael Hooper. I know he gets hurt a little bit now and then, and but that's there's like there's two ways this goes. You either get start to get a little bit dinged up, like Michael Hooper, but when you're playing, you're still just a fucking beast. Or you're Tipperick, where you're that he's still pretty dependable, I feel like. And it's just it's not you're not you're like
Yeah.
you're 100% of the time you're there, but you're only like 70% of what you were.
Yeah. He's a step off.
Versus 100% all when but only available like 50 or 60% of the time. Like that's the trade-off.
Yeah, it is. And you look at and I can think of a few names in the back row for Wales that don't need to be him. Jack Morgan obviously being in this game. Balatel still belongs there in my opinion. Yep. So that's not a new that's there's no issue with that. But then a guy we'll talk about a little later, Tommy Raffel. Tane Basham, I think, is hurt, so that's no good. But he was excellent. Yep. What we saw of him. Wainwright, again, I think he's banged up, and I think you just need to start blooding players and getting them in there, because if you're calling on the likes of Tips, and I loved Tips, and the days of Justin Tipperick and Dan Lydiate were great. I really liked the two of them, but they're gone, and you just got to acknowledge that and keep moving forward. And it's how it is. I think they have something with some of the players, some of the younger players they blooded this autumn. Rio Dyer has clearly put his hand up to say, I belong on the national team.
Because, Wales really needed another back three player.
Yeah, because they don't have Josh Adams or Lewis Rees-Hammond or anything like that.
Right.
So it's there are some good things to take away from this autumn. Yes, they only won one game. It was pretty bad. But really, I think a lot of us went into this whole thing thinking Wales are probably going to get snotted a few times, and they're going to have to take it on the chin. And obviously, it's now come down to the point where Wayne Pivac's fighting for his job.
Yeah.
And I hate to say it, but anybody that's trying to stack their manager right now, their international coach right now, they're fucked. You're going to have to overcompensate big time. So that's the only thing.
I agree with that in some cases, and I disagree with that in others. In this case, for Wales, I agree with it. And that's because right now Wales are selecting I feel like Wales are selecting their best players. Like they're putting out the best teams that they can.
But they can,
and it's just that what the players are being asked to do is fucking stupid. And it's that's the problem, is that it's too soon a time to turn that around and get the good players playing what they need to be doing, and then also having a coach that can has his head out of his ass and can have them can actually sort out how to get the best out of his players. There's a lot of work to do there, and I think I saw somebody say like it takes 18 games to do that, and yeah, they're a little late. I'm not sure I would want to do that, but I don't know that. For Wales, I think they don't have much choice.
They don't.
So that's the problem.
Then you're financially crippling yourself too, because you're going to have to not hire one coach. You're going to have to hire like 3 high-end coaches.
Yeah.
To try and get this thing to serviceable in a year, and that's that really puts pressure on the finances of the whole thing anyway, and that's they've got issues there. So yeah, no dice, in my opinion. So
I'm trying to figure out who else am I thinking. They had another flanker or back row player, and I just can't. I'm blanking on his name. Who used to be good? Fuck.
I mean, Warburton is not there
Warburton,
anymore, obviously.
Yeah. Navidi.
Oh yeah, Josh Navidi.
Like he should be around somewhere. But is he?
I think he's also banged up.
Right. So there's that too.
Yeah. And for the sake of Australia, hey, you came away with 2 wins on a really tough tour, and I'm pretty sure they intended on doing this the way they did it, and they really pushed the depth of their squad, and they found some good ones, and they probably figured out which guys need to go home. So
yeah,
we'll see how that goes.
That's the good part, I would say, is that they, when you blood new players, you kind of learn who, again, that whole system of, getting guys in the right spots and putting in your system. And they kind of have that. I feel like that's close. And then now it's time to figure out, okay, which players can play better within that system. Now they're kind of locked into it. And I think that this tour helped that, especially with their depth. Like Nwaka Nawasi now has had this experience, which was huge, playing, a test level on the road in hostile environments. And he showed pretty well. So that's important for when they go to France.
Right. I totally agree. We'll see. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Super Rugby for Australia this year.
Now you're looking at possibly Nwaka Nawasi, Tom Wright, and I'm breaking on Corbetty. That you're looking at potentially that as your back 3 for Australia. And you know what? I'd be pretty happy with that back 3.
Right. And you still have the likes of Pataya. You still have the likes of Tom Banks. And there's still some Kellaway. There's still some serious depth out there in that. And Pataya started as a center, so you might be able to actually move him back to like 13 as well. So there's that option presented to you there. So
he could float.
Yeah, good things to come for Australia, I think.
We gotta float down here.
Psycho. All right. Let's go over to Twix. And first of all, Curly Ardenson is fucking amazing. Like fucking amazing. This kid is. Lordy. They didn't need that in South Africa, but they have it now.
Yeah, because they needed another tiny winger who can just scoot and juke and
make people look silly.
Yeah.
Another hot stepper, as it were.
Yeah, very hot.
And it's one of those things where this was not an amazing performance by South Africa by the eye, but what they love to do and how they love to play, this was spot on for them.
Yeah, this is exactly what they wanted. This is, again, that whole thing of they got England to play them exactly the way that they want their opponents to play, which puts them much more at ease and lets them do exactly what they want to do.
Right.
Like it's one of those things where it's like, okay, they played a good game and they got their opponents to play the game that they want to play against.
Yep.
Apparently Eddie really likes that style. And it's like, okay, let's play the one style that cannot beat South Africa.
Which
that's a good way to win. Yeah.
Surely that'll go well. And what got into Damian Willems with the drop goals? I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Hey, he's not great off the tee, but clearly he's got that down.
He's good off the grass.
Yeah, guess so. Maybe we just need to give him a mound of grass to kick off next time. Pretty good stuff. And the one guy that I wish I could poo all over, but I'm not going to because he actually played brilliantly until he had to come off with an injury, is Faf. Like he was who he is, just to the level where he got Johnny Hill in trouble. Like, and that was pretty much the end. And they were, somebody bring me Dowie Morris so I can punch him. Fucking hell. But he was being that pest, and that's what he's good at. And
the only thing I didn't like of his is that arm swing, swinging arm that just went over Smith's head.
You got to be very
Like that.
careful of that.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the faff I don't like. That he has no, and I know he's just, he's small and he feels like he can do whatever he wants because he's not really going to hurt anybody. But it's like just takes
Yeah, that'll
one hit
knock
just the
someone
right
into
way.
next week if you're not
Exactly.
careful.
Right.
So, but as far as his like, especially with him with ball in hand and attacking, he was good.
Mm-hmm.
He really was, and he outplayed everybody on the other side. Certainly, both nines on the other side.
Certainly, yeah.
And it's what do you do if you're England? Like,
so here's where I think England and the RFU should peer into the very shadows of HQ, to the stoop, and look at what they did. What not last year, the year before, 2 years ago.
2 years ago, yeah.
And say, what they did is that they had the coach and it just wasn't working. And they said, we can do this, like they fired it, just to shake it up. But also then they were like, let's just fucking go for it. Like the kind of rugby that we were talking about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's just go score some points. And they did, and it was awesome, and they won.
Yeah, and they won, and they lifted a trophy at the end.
I would like, I still think that they could do that and play fucking Wildcat. Just go, you say, you know what? Like, fuck it style. Like, I think that's the thing that, and the one reason why I wouldn't want to do that is that I don't know that England as a country is, I don't think their culture would allow it as far as, like, I think it would be a bad mix on the rugby pitch because it's, they're very, it's very structured and ordered and whatnot. And that if you just say, you know what, we're firing Eddie, we're just gonna get the best players and we're gonna play like barbarian style, not like loosey goosey shit, but we're just gonna go and run and have fun and let our players' talent drive us as far as they can. Now, I know that there's reasons why you don't do that too, because it's a World Cup and you don't want to. But really, realistically, you keep Eddie. What's your ceiling at the World Cup?
Quarterfinal.
Yeah, like they might win a quarterfinal. Depends on who they'd play. So like really, and then I don't know what's their pool.
They have Argentina in their pool. I know that.
So right, and you already lost to them at home.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, you think you're gonna beat them the same? Like, I don't think so. Like, so then you look at the other teams and you're like, okay, you can beat that. You probably beat them. Where am I? Where is it? England, Japan, Argentina, Samoa, Chile. They could beat Samoa and Chile, probably Japan, just by out physicaling them. Like, they could beat them without really thinking, having like a set structure or whatever in place. Argentina, they may have to actually play a wide open game just to stay in it with them. So it's like, that's why I would almost just go like, we are going to just pick our best players and see who can play better rugby. That would be what I would do. And I know that's completely unorthodox and insane, but I think it's less insane than going to a World Cup with Eddie Jones and this bullshit that he's putting out there.
Yeah, it's somewhere between 50 and 50.
Right. And to me, if it's that point, then it's like, let's fucking go. Because, like, I'm sorry, Johnny May, Jack Noel.
Noel was terrible.
No.
Noel was
like awful. They were just, they don't do anything. Yeah. They don't do anything.
I saw Freeman and I thought, great. And then he brought him off a half. And
of course, they bring him off. You idiot. What do you do? Because, you don't need any, like, your wings are getting fucking eaten alive. Or, you're out, their wings are eating you alive. Let's put your slowest wing out there, possible. Like, I know Johnny May isn't as fast as you. He can still cook a little bit. But like, at least no one can't do shit. No, I don't get it. I don't get it.
It's not international quality.
No.
It's just how it is.
And then, of course, we see Ollie Hassel-Collins like fucking torch it up. Right, like
cruising along day over there.
It's like, so you're gonna tell me that this guy is not as good as Jack Noel? Like,
Caden
Fuck off.
Murley.
Caden Murley. There's too many of them. Max Malins. Why isn't?
Yep.
Why the fuck isn't he there? Radwan. Like, there's too many guys who can run and play rugby, and they're not developing them at all. And it's like, like that's why.
It's not important. And I know he wrote the thing he wrote in 2017, but that was 5 years ago, and
yeah,
I don't see the emphasis on it from him, so it's hard to say that, So and then, I don't believe that he really wants to develop youth. I think he just wants to give lip service.
But you look up and down this lineup, and who's your burner? Who's your danger man here?
I mean, Freeman would have been.
Right.
We know what he
But they didn't use him for it.
No, they didn't use him at all. Not at all.
I mean, like Tui, I think we both are in the same boat. Don't understand the fascination with Tui. Because first off, he's not as good as he used to be. And second off, how good was he ever really?
He had how good the few good games he had were in big spots, and that was probably the best you could say.
Right.
About him.
Like he came up big in some big spots. And that matters, but at the same time,
yeah.
And Farrell is not, he's obviously not 100%, but also I think it is time to pick one, and I would actually pick both and just be like Farrell, Smith and Farrell, like, if one starts, the other finishes, doesn't matter which, don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe switch it up game to game, or opponent to opponent, depending on what they've got going for them. Because you need a 12, you need a 13, and same thing, Henry Slade. Sorry, mm-hmm. I went back to my old football roots.
Oh boy,
used to be a great defensive tackle, I think. Henry Slade, I don't get it either from him. He's not much of an attacker. I think he scored the try, but I don't think it was like a fancy. I think it was just a run over and score it.
Just to flop over, really.
Yeah, I'm looking top to bottom of the team. It's like Sam Simmons on the bench he's dangerous. Vunipola could be dangerous, but they didn't really use him in that respect.
Nope.
Marcus Smith is dangerous, but he needs help because he's got to run. He's got to have support, and none of those guys can keep up with him. And then Portfleet is kind of limited in Eddie Jones' attack because he's not allowed to
be himself,
go for scoots and express himself.
Nope.
And then we have Jonathan fucking Hill, who's a fucking lump out there. What good did he do? Like, what could he do? So why would you have Alex Coles at 6 when you could just fucking slide him into 5 and put a decent, like, you had that Simmons and Curry at 6 and 7. That worked so well, and you just go away from it. And I realize it's South Africa, and you want to beef up for them. But how well did that work for Johnny Hill? All he did was get a shit ton of penalties, and then the
reverse on him,
and then the one reversal for no reason. That was the dumbest fucking thing. What are you doing? Like, how do you not know better?
Moron.
And at that point,
what he does, though. That's the thing. That's what he does. Like, people are like, oh, it got sold. I'm like, no, Faf knew what he was doing, but at the same time, like, he knew it was Johnny Hill because Johnny Hill would bite on that all day.
Right.
That's what he does. He's a shithouse extraordinaire, and that's
and
not
Johnny
really
Hill's
something you need at international level.
Johnny Hill's got to be. He's got to know what he's doing, who he's fucking with. Because all he did was kind of pick him up, but he did throw him a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, it's not, if he had just picked him up, that would have been one thing, but it was that little toss, and obviously Faf milked it, but that's what Faf does. You got to know better.
You got to know that.
Like, you can't be stupid. Like, that's what I just don't get. What talent does he have out there that makes up for his fucking lack of brains?
He doesn't have enough by any means for me. Like,
so, like, that's kind of where I'm going with this whole, Wildcat type approach to the World Cup, because fuck it, they're already not up to standard just because of with the players. So fuck it, just get the best players and go let them play. I bet you could take field a second England squad of guys that some of the guys that Eddie doesn't like, or some of the guys that are kind of in the ins and outs, and beat Eddie's team. Because there's so many of them, like Johnny Hill, like Tuolagi, like Johnny May and Jack Noel. They're just not that fucking good at all.
Nope.
So that's where I am there. Is I would want that. And I know it's easy for me to say I'm over here in the US, and it doesn't really, I'm just looking to be entertained, if anything, if for this. And this is just not entertaining. And I know everybody. I know
it's not
that
entertaining. It's not successful. So you might as well go with one.
Right. And plus, the other thing is, though, if you do it like that, you can work that and build support. Be like, it's us against the world, right? We had to do this because it was poisonous. We're getting rid of that. And yeah, maybe it's a little bit of a stab in the back to Eddie, but he kind of needs it.
Yeah, he's just not been good.
His ego needs a check, big time check. And to have that and be like, look, we're gonna go do this, and maybe it could be a rally cry, like, we are gonna do this on our own. We're not gonna do it conventionally. We're gonna do it this way. Because then, you start, if all it takes is you start winning games, and then people are like, oh, maybe this is a good, there's ways to market that gets people more interested, because they need that too.
Right.
All right. I'm sorry.
Ben's on one.
I've been thinking about this a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just not, obviously not a fan of Eddie. Don't want him fucking here, certainly.
Definitely not.
If this is what he will do to USA Rugby, I fucking don't want anything to do with it.
I don't want anything to do with it. Pass. Yeah, they're not going to play to entertain under him. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, I've given Eddie like as much. I've given him enough rope. I'm done, and I've been done for a little bit. But you can't go into the World Cup with this mentality, with this approach.
No, not at all. All right. Something we didn't cover at the top, but we weren't gonna miss on it. Sad news out of Scotland. Doddie Weir has succumbed to his illness and passed. And I know I spoke about him the other week, and how he didn't look great. I didn't realize how close to the end he was. It's how little I know about this whole thing, but
right.
Oh, at least he got a chance to say goodbye, and we got to see him one more time. But man, just and you see the everything that's been said about him on Twitter. It's not only respect, but how wonderful of a person he was, and just to be a mountain of a man, but also just such a gentle person and away from the pitch. And he really was a good person from all accounts. So it's one of those sad people that you're really sad to lose in the world. And we had a good one with the rugby world in this one, and so sad to see him go. So sad.
Yeah, great representative of the game. Even as he broke down, really not it's not an easy disease, obviously, and you need to hear that, but it's one of those things where it's very prideful. This is a guy who was, as you said, a fucking giant, and just such an excellent player, just an excellent athlete. The ability to use your body to do amazing things is, and then lose that it's a nightmare. It's like I don't know how else to describe it, because it's like you all these things that just were able to happen and that just don't, and there's shame involved in that. And and he was not afraid to just say, look, this is who I am now. This is what I'm dealing with, and just put it out there. I think that's hugely important, because we see that in other ways. We see it with what Steve Gleason over here in the US in football, and guys who made sure that they were visible all the way through their journey here. And I think that's important, because it makes it that much more, because it's also that shocking for fans. So like you said, it was shocking to see Doddie like that. And we really need to fix this, and we need to fight this. And I'm just glad that he was able to say goodbye, as you said, and that he was also able to, see that we can't beat it in his lifetime, but we're going to beat it.
Yep.
It's going to happen. And so that's, I hope that was some comfort. But yeah, just a general thank you to Doddie for fucking Hall of Fame life, sir. Really, well done. Excellently done.
Hall of Fame person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, our thoughts and our condolences, and our best wishes go out to his family and his loved ones and everybody that he touched, which sounds like it was a lot of people.
A lot of people, yeah.
And it just, many heartfelt messages of not only just teammates on the field for Scotland, but also Lions teammates. And we've seen what the bonds in those tours grow, and the Lions tourists that got to know him were clearly the ones that were speaking the loudest, and it says a lot, because you could easily just be a dick on those tours, and he's not. And
right.
You can have your favorites if they're your teammates on your international team, on your club team, but when you go and cross over with that on a Lions tour, and there's still people that are just gushing about who you are as a person,
right,
it says a lot about who you are as a person. So many thoughts with Doddie and his family and his loved ones, and continue to push My Name is Doddie and all that stuff. I'm going to put a link to his donation page in the show notes as well, so people can go ahead and chip in with that when they can. Okay, let's go to the Prem, and we will start on Friday night at the Stoop. So we'll go to the Stoop first, and Quinn's return to the field, and it's the same chapter, different verse for a lot of reasons. The Quins are no Marcus, obviously, but they still have Danny Kerr. They still have Tommy Allen.
Is an international.
They still have Alex Don Brandt. Like they had plenty of firepower, and they used all of it. But oh my God, like the brilliance of Ernie Herps with the over the head tap. I was like, that's what advantage is for, not the bullshit like trying to fucking muscle it over. Do something fun. Like you would never expect it from Ernie Herps. Not even close.
so I'm of the opinion, and I'm not taking anything away from him on this. I'm on the opinion that he didn't do that intentionally. It was like he was trying to catch it and then realized that he was gonna knock it on. And as you said, it's advantage. So he just kind of was like, all right, let's just keep it going. Like,
shift it on. Why not? See what happens.
Started sliding instead of trying to pull it down. He's like, nope, just go. Like, you're going that way, just go. Which is still brilliant.
It is in so many ways.
Because it's like it depends. When you mean to do something, you're planning for it. I think it's even more impressive that he did it, on the fly. Like, oh, this isn't going to work. Just go, just get it, give it to Dom. Or whoever, like he didn't know who was behind him, but it just went right to the right spot. So that was he looked pretty, stoically happy afterwards about it too. So
and then the rust creeped in a little bit for them, and Gloucester were not great on the day by any means whatsoever. I think they would admit that as well, because we didn't see any points scored in the second half, did we? Not to my recollection.
I would love to be able to tell you that, but
I know. Freaking Prem's. I'm looking at
Prem's site is fucked.
Quinn's Twitter feeds. That's the one I'm going by here, and it's that was the halftime score, 21-12.
Wow. Yep, there it is. Yep.
God damn.
Yeah, and I just wasn't that. There's really nothing here. Holy crap.
No, there's literally nothing there. And
wow, way to go, Prem. You guys are great. See, that's one thing. This is why I miss TRM. Because TRM, I would just go to the TRM page and look up, because it would have basically everything you would need here. But the Prem stuff has fucking nothing we need. Gloucester were just poor. Obviously missing their, weren't quite. I mean, they weren't missing their internationals, but it was still all like creaky and not quite right.
Definitely creaky.
Still need a fly half, but they need what's his butt from Scotland to come back.
To get healthy again. Get healthy, or they need to start playing Barton. Honestly,
I don't know why
I think
sat him for a while.
I think Carreras can go back to fullback, and they can just get rid of Lloyd Evans.
That's right. I did like that they put Carreras at 10 though. I thought that was hilarious when I realized that. It didn't click for me until I had the game on and they were announcing it, and I was like, holy shit, they're actually doing it. Like.
Yes, they did.
I think, I mean, that makes sense. I mean, if the guy can play 10 at an international level, he can play 10 at the Prem level. It'll be okay.
I think they still could have moved him back to fullback and played Barton at 10.
Yeah.
Get rid of Lloyd Evans. Like, just send Lloyd Evans somewhere not Gloucester, because he's terrible.
Exactly. That's really what it is that they got to get Lloyd Evans off the fucking field. Yeah. He was bad. Thank you for reminding me on that.
He was quite bad.
Yeah.
You lied to me. Anyway, poor job by him and Gloucester. Better job by Quins, and back on the winning streak. Up to the tune. And we said this would speak volumes about where both teams are. It tells me that Newcastle could have something brewing, and Exeter are, I think they're in deep enough trouble that if they don't find a way to right the ship, that they need to start considering firing Baxter.
I don't think that won't happen mid-year, but at the end of the year.
But at the end of the year, yes.
I mean, I would absolutely support. Like, there are people who think Rob Baxter should be England coach. I mean, come the fuck
Please
on.
no. Please
Look at this shit.
Please no. No.
Look at what Exeter play. Look at them having fucking 5 locks out there.
Yeah,
5 fucking locks.
You'd see Morrow, Coles, and freaking and Billy at the back, and then they'd put in Hill and Ribbons.
Right.
That's what you'd see.
No. I want none of that. And yeah, it's just not and that I think this is basically what I said last week, was that they just don't have the jam to go up there and win on the road, because and Newcastle is a tough place to play. And that's kind of how it went. They just didn't have enough to finish, because they didn't score. They didn't score in the second half.
No, they didn't. And they apart from a guy like
nobody scored. Another one. Wait, did nobody score in the second half in this match too?
What was the halftime score?
No,
Exeter did score. I think they had a penalty try.
Oh, was it a penalty try?
Yeah.
Oh, well, okay. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. Still not great.
Right.
By any means whatsoever. Yeah, let me look. Hold on. I will.
Yeah, it's not. The Prem side has a 24-21, but only lists 2 tries.
Oh, that's always awesome. Yeah, well, that's why we go to Twitter feeds. But anyway, it's still not good by any means whatsoever, and they just don't have the ability, apart from a few guys. Like, they don't have a Mateo Carreras by any means. Like, Mighty Mouse is quickly becoming one of my favorite players to watch. Like, that's fun. He is all over the place, and geez, if they can find a way to unleash him and Radwan in the same breath, like, good luck. Right. I don't want to know what the hell's going on in your brain when you're watching that, because it's not going to be fun. I'll just, don't even know. And you have Van Heerden, who's been scoring try after try, but he's just falling over the line. That's all he's doing.
It's a debuter's try. Like, it's not really anything impressive or special. It's just, hey, good, you just ram somebody over. Excellent.
It's like our old buddy Disco Bell. Like, he scored freaking 5 tries and gained a total of 5 meters between them all. Like, just how it is. It's just, it's not good. It really isn't. So you look at the things that are going on at Newcastle with the likes of like Guy Pepper, who might be a thing.
I think he's a thing. I am, and we'll talk about that in the next pod, but I am all on board the Guy Pepper train.
So we'll see what's going on, but there's something there. There's something there with this Newcastle team. I know they're probably still not going to threaten for anything like top 8.
No.
But there's something going on. They probably
don't have the flankers. They need. Well, they have Pepper now. He seems pretty damn good. Chick hasn't been terrible, but they really need another fetcher too.
Yeah, they need somebody else in there. Collette wasn't bad when he was in there.
Yeah,
if he can improve, maybe they have something there. See if I can find it honestly isn't that important, so I'm not gonna worry about it. Let's go to Sale, and this was a good match for a little while, and then Sale just said, "Nah, we're not gonna do this anymore.
Yeah, we're done." Yeah.
Screwed with them a little bit, but eventually put them away.
By the way, we've got to do oh wait, we have 2.
We have 3. Joke's on you all. And they have a Tom Roebuck too.
Yes, they do. He's quite good.
He is good.
I mean, that's the thing. Tom Roebuck's we didn't mention him earlier in England.
No.
He was up there getting the high ball better than fucking
Noel.
No, well, certainly.
Yeah.
Like this guy can go up and get like it was Roebuck who did that, right? I'm trying to think of it.
Yeah, he got yeah, he scored off one of the kickoffs, didn't he? I think.
Yeah, that's right.
Just
Yes,
not a
that's
good
what he did. Yeah.
take, whatever it was. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah. You wouldn't see a Noel do that. You can't do it
No,
anymore. So
probably not. Probably not. A little better from Bristol though, not quite as rudderless as we've seen them in the past few weeks. Against a good team in a tough spot. So you gotta give them a little bit of credit.
Right. And well, AJ Bell, like this to me is the best possible. Well, okay, outside of winning, but that let's be honest, it's not going to happen yet. They're not that good yet.
Not for them.
They're getting better. But this was like, this Sailor aren't obviously they're not bad, right? They're towards the top end of the table, and then that's for a reason. And that's part A. Part B is that AJ Bell is so fucking hard to play at.
Yes.
It's not easy. And Bristol went up there and gave him Watford.
Yeah.
So
they gave him a run. No doubt.
That's I think the best that Bristol could hope for, because that and also I think this will be sustainable. I think this may help them turn it around a little bit.
A little better, yeah. I think
I'm getting a losing bonus point. I mean, seriously, the way they've been playing with they're 2-6. They're struggling. They're almost 100 points. They're almost at 100 point differential where their points for are significantly lower than their points against. It's not going well.
No.
But this could be, again, just like you said with Newcastle, they're not going to threaten top 4. Certainly at this point, it's just too far away. It's one of those, like, you can't win, like they say in baseball, it's a long season. You can't win the title in April, but you can lose it.
You can lose it. Yep.
The Bears have lost it by the end of September, of November,
yeah.
No, the end of October, really. But at this point in November, it's gone. But they'll at least be respectable. But they could challenge for Champions Cup potentially. It's not that far away.
They got to write it, but yeah.
Right. Red Rodgers coming back this week.
That's what I've heard.
So we'll
in the
see.
rumor mill.
Right. So there's potential for more.
And Piers O'Connor's on form now.
Yes.
So that's the good thing for them. So if they can get the two of them firing together, that'll be actually really great for them.
Exactly. That's kind of where I'm going with it, is that some of their players that they're really going to need are popping up. Moynihan, I thought, had a pretty good game this match too. And Ibitoye. Fuck.
Yeah, who knew, right?
Right.
Comes back from the depths of God knows where.
To be like, oh, by the way, I'm still good.
Still quality.
Right. So they've got there's options there, and that back line there is getting better, and it's only gonna get better. So and Will Porter played a pretty good match too. So again, there's a lot to work with there in Bristol now, and it's Lamb will get it right. I think he's getting it right.
Yeah, slowly but surely.
Yeah.
Sunday over to Welford Road, Tigers and London Irish. This got a little out of hand at one point. It was everybody's game. It really was.
I was surprised by that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, again, the same thing, that outcome. Like this Irish team does not have the jam to go on the road to Welford Road and take it.
Yeah, that's kind of a lot.
They don't.
Yeah, they had apart from Virginia Rawa, the right people were scoring for them. We can say that. Rogerson, Hassel Collins, Pearson, maybe Rogerson less so, but still Pearson, Hassel Collins. They gotta get rid of this 10, and not just because he's a piece of shit, but he is bad. He's been really bad. Like, anybody that is saying otherwise, I really want to know what you're seeing, because I don't see it right now. He's whatever bullshit they were putting up with because he was in decent form. Yeah, it's gone now. Like, just get rid of him. Go find yourself a new 10. There's plenty of young 10s out there that need a little run and that you could sign.
It's to the point that when Atkinson was coming on, when they showed him getting, warming up and getting ready to come in, I'm like, could you imagine if he was warming up for the Exiles right now? If he was going to come on, like, it was one of those, like, both of them had a shot at it. Exiles had a chance to, but they've invested so much into this asshole that they don't want to, they can't. I don't know that they can do that, but fuck, they need something. They need to start working on the next guy up because he's not good. And yeah, Atkinson I think would have come in and won that game for them.
I think Atkinson would have done a lot of good for a team like them for sure. Right.
I mean, I'm glad, I'm also glad for him that he's on Leicester because I think Leicester will develop him much better.
They'll take good care of him, no doubt.
Right. So I'm happy for him there. I think he could have helped another team more. There's that switch off. It's like, this is best for him. He could have been fucking MVP of like 2 or 3 other teams.
Totally. So, yeah, he could have gotten player of the year on a short year for a lot of teams.
Right.
No question.
And this because this Irish squad is loaded. We're talking about guys who can scorch. I mean, we saw it, right? We saw
Hassel Collins,
Hassel Collins. We saw Pearson do pretty well.
And that was set up by Hassel Collins, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Benhard Jens van Rensburg is everywhere.
He regardless of whatever stats we're looking at, he is a good rugby player. Hands down, like unquestionably, he is a very good rugby player. And they got him for a song. So that is highway robbery at its finest right there for them. So it's arguably better than his other namesake that was in the Prem for a little while.
Yeah. And Benhard, you won two lineouts. I mean, come on.
Yeah, it was pretty ridiculous. I was like, oh,
hey, there he is.
He just jumped. Okay, I remember seeing him once. I was like, I thought it was a gimmick. Nope, they're gonna use him. I was like, okay, if it works, no, why fuck with it? But yeah, he's very multifaceted, which is good.
Right.
That only makes you better as a player. It makes you more useful as well.
So there's a lot to like about this squad, except that like that's and all of them are so sometimes you kind of a 10 can have a really sneaky good game and you don't really realize it until afterwards. You're like, holy shit, like everything that was awesome flowed through that 10, and I just didn't see it because it was flowing. But it's like, it's pretty obvious that the players around the individual players around this player they're doing the best they can with what's in front of them. It's just not it's not the best attack. It's not always the best decision. They're not being put in the best possible spots. Right. He's kind of dragging them down. It's noticeable that they're like, whenever that's the way I see it is when you're like, okay, this, you can kind of, as you're watching, you say, okay, the pass should probably go there because I think this is where the gap is from, you have to, there's a lot of memorization of where the players might, are setting up and whatnot. But like, you can kind of see it even as they're launching. You can be like, oh man, right after the players, like if the ball went there, like they would have been gone. And it doesn't, some 10s hit that and you're like, holy shit, how did they see that? They just do.
Right.
And then there's some like this where you're like, I see more holes than they're hitting,
which is bad.
So generally. To me, that tells me that the person in charge of getting the ball to where the hole is not doing a good job.
Yep. And then you have Tommy Raffel, who has just been working his ass off quietly over at Leicester for a little while.
Right.
He is a worker. He really is. And there's really no other way to say it. And he had 16 tackles and he didn't miss one.
I want to know where he peaks. Because
I don't know.
He keeps getting better.
Yeah, he's getting better. He really is.
Like he has been. Like it's been, year after year. It's been like, hey, I kind of like that guy. And I see him do some decent things here and there. To, I'm seeing that guy a lot of these now. Like, but he's noticeable. Like I don't like Raffel's been around for 3 years, maybe. It's hard to tell.
Give or take, yeah, really in the scene.
Right. And originally it was one of those when he first came on his first year, it was like, I like what I'm seeing there. And it was enough to be like, even though he's played sparingly, to be like, oh, Raffel's playing again. Okay, I want to see this guy again.
See what that guy does. Yeah.
Kind of how we're doing with Pearson and the Pepper now. Like, like I want to see more of that guy. And Raffel all he has done is just get better and better and better.
Yep. So
and it's scary.
Yeah, there's a lot of good to like there. Hopefully we see him more in a Wales shirt as well. I know there's some controversy around that, but not for discussion at the moment.
The bigger comments, was it Bigger who said that they got to scrap the 60 cap rule?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
I like Dan Bigger.
I do too. You get to say his farewells to the Gardens as well. He was there at their they were playing the Babas, I think.
Right.
Yeah, that was cool. And Tom Wood got a nice proper send off as well, so that was pretty cool, pretty sweet to see. Did you see the Kibarigi celebration?
No, I did not.
He scored. He jumped the boards and he ran up and sat on one of the steps and was. That is a Babas thing right there, and that was brilliant. Totally. I was like, "Yep, this is why you're supposed to play for this club. That's why it's fun. That's awesome." Oh yes, brilliant stuff. All right, that's the Rugby pods for us. We're going over to Fantasy Corner. We are drawing our draft, and we'll explain how everything's going to work for Champions Cup and Champions League and all that stuff. But we're drawing our Champions League draft. It's gonna be fun and kind of interesting either way. And we're still not 100% sure when we're drafting, but we're gonna draft this weekend just the same. So if you're interested in that, head over there. Fantasy Corner. Obviously, we'll obviously be covering this weekend's Prem action with most of the internationals hopefully returning to action with their clubs. Fantasy Rugby Podcast at gmail.com. Make sure you go buy Fantasy Rugby Geek a coffee because he deserves it and he's our friend. So yes, he's everybody's friend. But yeah, if you're not coming over,
busy. He really needs coffee at the moment.
Yeah, he needs coffee. Kids at home, working his ass off at his job, the whole shebang.
Yeah.
If you're not coming to Fantasy Corner, then we'll talk to you next week when we start talking about Champions Cup because it's that time. But if you are, well, then we'll talk to you over there. But either way, we appreciate you all for listening, and we'll talk to you soon. Have a good one.
Later.